Welcome back, listeners. Ready to go even deeper into Robin Wasserman's Cold Awakening trilogy.
I think it's time.
We're picking up with Shattered.
Originally published as Crashed.
Right, Crashed. The second book, where things get really, really intense for Leah.
And everyone else around her.
What's striking about Shattered is how it just dives deeper into those ethical and philosophical questions we started to see in Frozen.
It's not about surviving death anymore.
Yeah.
It's about surviving life after death, but in this whole new synthetic body.
It's a whole other layer.
All these societal anxieties come into play, and you really have to think about what it means to be human.
Absolutely. So, for anyone joining us for the first time,
Welcome.
just a quick recap. Leah Khan, our main character, was in this horrific accident in the first book. She should have died.
But she didn't.
She wakes up in what's called a mech body.
Basically a super advanced synthetic body.
Yeah, it's like sci-fi becoming reality.
And Shattered picks up right where Frozen left off.
Okay, so now Leah is back. But she's definitely not back to normal.
No, not at all. She's grappling with this whole new reality, constantly feeling like a stranger in her own skin.
It's more than just the physical changes, though, right?
Way more.
It's the emotional turmoil, that isolation, the feeling that a part of her is just gone, lost.
And her old life. It doesn't fit anymore.
Like trying to squeeze back into clothes you've outgrown.
Exactly. Early in the book, we see her really struggling to connect with her old life.
Everything's different.
Her boyfriend, Walker, he just can't handle it, breaks up with her. Her friends, they're distant, unsure how to treat her, how to even talk to her. It's like this mech body is this wall between them.
Wasserman uses these really vivid descriptions to get us into Leah's head, to make us feel that struggle.
Like when Leah's trying to adjust to her new hands, the way they feel.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, she talks about the flesh feeling unnaturally smooth, no creases or veins. She even wonders if they have fingerprints.
It's such a powerful image.
It highlights how disconnected she feels from this body. It's not just what it looks like, it's the actual experience of being in this body that just doesn't feel like her own.
Like he's almost human, but not quite.
Almost alive.
It makes you think, what does it really mean to be human?
Right. Is it our biology? Memories? Her relationships?
That's what Shattered is really exploring.
As Leah tries to get back to her old life, she starts to experience this prejudice and fear.
Yeah, not everyone is thrilled to have her back.
Some people, they're fascinated by her, sure, but others are just repulsed. They see her as some sort of freak of nature.
Even back at school, it's a mixed bag, right?
Totally. Some of her classmates are whispering behind her back, staring.
Others are openly hostile.
Remember that awful presentation Bliss gives in Persuasive Speaking?
Ouch.
She compares Leah to a broken down car.
Brutal.
It shows how scared people are of mechs. They don't understand it, and they're afraid of what it means for life and death.
It's not all bad, though. There's Auden Heller. He's a classmate, kind of becomes Leah's ally. And what's interesting about him is that he chooses to wear glasses, even though he could easily get his vision corrected.
He's a great character. Auden represents a different way of thinking. He doesn't try to hide his imperfections.
He sees past the superficial.
He's challenging that whole idea that we should all be striving for some perfect physical ideal.
Yeah.
Which is unattainable, by the way.
It's like a statement.
Yeah.
By wearing those glasses, he's saying, this is who I am. It's more than just how I look.
Exactly. And it's such a contrast to Leah, who's really struggling with her transformation.
It's also the start of their relationship, which gets really complex as the story goes on.
Oh, definitely.
So we've got Leah dealing with her own personal struggles.
Trying to figure out who she is now.
But then there's this bigger conflict brewing in the background. Wasserman introduces the Fathers and their leader, Savona.
Oh, Savona. She's a force to be reckoned with.
The Fathers, they add a whole other dimension to the story.
They believe mechs are wrong. Like an abomination against God's natural order.
It's interesting how they reflect those anxieties we have in the real world about technology.
Especially when technology blurs the lines between life and death.
It's not just a sci-fi concept anymore.
It's like, what happens when we play God?
All their protests and rallies create this tension. It feels like things are about to explode.
It's not just philosophical debates anymore.
There are real-world consequences.
Leah gets caught right in the middle of it.
When that footage of her at the Father protest surfaces online.
And her zone gets terminated.
Oh, man.
For those who don't know, zones are basically your online space in this world. How people connect, share, live their digital lives.
It's like your whole online identity.
And to have your zone terminated is like being digitally erased.
It's terrifying.
It shows how vulnerable mechs are, how they're still controlled by whoever has the technological power.
Even though they've cheated death, they can still be silenced and ostracized.
It's a powerful moment. It shows Leah's struggle goes beyond just adapting to her body. She's trying to survive in a world that's becoming more and more hostile towards her.
It makes you question who gets to decide what's good or bad when it comes to mechs.
Who benefits from this technology?
And at what cost?
Exactly. And then, right when everything seems to be falling apart for Leah, there's Jude, this charismatic leader of a group of mechs who encourages her to embrace all the things that being a mech could offer.
He's like a breath of fresh air at first.
Right. He challenges her to push past those limitations, to explore what her synthetic body can really do. He represents this idea of, like, going beyond human limitations.
Becoming superhuman.
Yes. But there's a dark side to his philosophy, too.
Not everything's as it seems.
It's not just about self-discovery, it's about rejecting humanity as a whole.
There's that scene at the waterfall, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where Leah sees Jude and his followers vandalizing property.
It's a turning point for Leah. She has to think about, is this really freedom?
Or is it just another form of destruction?
And then, of course, there's the climax.
The jump.
Leah, desperate to feel something real, anything beyond the numbness, jumps off the waterfall.
It's a powerful moment.
The waterfall becomes a symbol for all that longing Leah feels, her need for something authentic.
But it also highlights the consequences of those desires.
Because Auden, trying to save her, ends up getting badly hurt.
And that's where we leave off.
Talk about a cliffhanger. Poor Auden. He's in the hospital because of Leah.
It's got to weigh on her.
This is the guy who's been there for her, and now look.
And there's that scene where he pushes her away, tells her, this isn't what you went through, this isn't what you understand.
It's heartbreaking.
He's right, though, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Leah can't truly understand what it means to be so vulnerable, so fragile.
It's a rejection, sure, but it's also a wake-up call for Leah. Actions have consequences. Her need for these intense sensations, it could end up hurting the people she cares about.
It's not like she can just go back to her old friends for comfort either.
No. Cass, Tara, Bliss, those relationships are basically over.
They just can't deal with the new Leah, the mech Leah.
It's the same struggle society's having, this fear of the unknown, of what mechs represent. Even people who were once close to Leah are pulling away.
And her sister Zoe going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Totally embracing the Fathers and their anti-mech stuff.
It's tragic, this whole conflict splitting families apart, relationships just crumbling under fear and misunderstanding.
The only one who seems to get Leah is Riley, right? Another mech from Jude's group.
Riley becomes her confidant, but it's complicated. He's totally devoted to Jude, believes in his vision of a mech-led future. And that's going to cause some friction as Leah starts questioning things.
And there's that conversation Leah has with Ani, another mech. And he just casually mentions that mech bodies are assigned and not chosen.
Whoa.
Right. That's a messed up thought.
It reveals this dark side of the whole mech thing, like you don't even get to choose what you look like in your second life.
No control.
It raises so many questions: identity, agency, the possibility of someone, somewhere manipulating this whole system.
And it gets even darker when we learn some mechs, like Annie, end up in bodies that are racially different from their original ones.
Annie's story is heartbreaking. Her own parents wouldn't recognize her now. She's trapped in this body that doesn't reflect who she is.
It makes you wonder, is the mech system really giving people a second chance? Or is it just perpetuating those same old inequalities, but in this even more insidious way?
It's a disturbing thought.
And just when you think it can't get weirder, Leah finds out there's a Leah Khan double out there.
Someone else walking around with her exact same face, her same body.
Yeah.
It throws everything into question. If your memories can be put into someone else, what does it even mean to be you?
Scary.
The potential for identity theft, manipulation, in a world where tech can just replicate human beings.
Then there's the Synapsis Corporation incident.
Oh, man.
Leah, Riley, some other mechs, they're sent on this mission. Turns out it's a setup.
Ends in violence, innocent people getting killed.
It's like this wake-up call. Mechs aren't just getting a second chance at life.
They're being used. Pawns in some bigger game.
Their synthetic bodies exploited for violence and control.
Leah and Riley have to run. Now they're fugitives, wanted for a crime they didn't even commit.
They've crossed a line. No going back.
It's not about finding their place anymore. It's about survival.
And remember the Brotherhood. The ones protesting against mechs. Calling them abominations.
Yeah. Turns out their agenda is even more twisted than we thought.
They're not just trying to contain mechs.
They want to wipe them out completely.
Gone.
It changes everything. The Failers, who seemed extreme, are just tools in this bigger, more dangerous game. Makes you wonder who the real villains are.
Is it the mechs trying to survive?
Or the humans who want to control them, destroy them.
And then, this is the kicker, Ani has joined the Brotherhood.
What?
She's working with Savona and Auden, trying to expose the truth about the mech world. The manipulation, the control, the whole messed up system.
That's a betrayal.
It's shocking, but when you think about what Ani went through, it makes sense. She was robbed of her identity, forced into a body that wasn't hers. Now she's fighting back against the system that dehumanized her.
Trying to take back some control.
During the raid on the temple, Leah gets captured.
By the Brotherhood.
Yep. There's this tense standoff with Savona and Zoe. They're trying to convince Leah that she's not a real person.
Just a machine.
It goes back to that core question. What does it mean to be human? Is it about our biology, or is it something more? Is consciousness enough?
Big question.
Then comes the gut punch.
What happened?
Ani is being used by the Brotherhood as proof that mechs are dangerous. They're sacrificing her to push their agenda.
That's awful. They're using her suffering to justify their actions.
Leah has to choose.
Between what?
Her own survival or saving Ani? There's no easy answer.
It's the climax of the whole book. Leah has to decide who she is and what she's willing to fight for.
So she's trapped. What does Leah do? Save Ani? Or to try to survive?
It's not that simple. She realizes she can't win. Not against the Brotherhood, not against whatever's pulling their strings. So she makes a deal.
With who?
Biomax, the company behind the whole mech technology.
Oh, wow. Out of the frying pan into the fire.
It's a desperate move. She knows she's outmatched.
So what's the deal?
Leah becomes their product. Biomax, they want to control how people see mechs, make them seem less threatening, more appealing.
So like a PR campaign.
Exactly. They put Leah in this 24/7 vid life, broadcasting her life, making her out to be this carefree party girl, showing off all the supposed perks of being a mech.
It just seems like she's feeding the machine, you know?
Yeah.
The very system that dehumanized Ani, all the other mechs.
Yeah. It's a Faustian bargain. She gets protection, but she loses her freedom. She's constantly being watched. Her life becomes this performance.
It makes you think about what freedom really means when even death can be controlled.
Right.
But she does have Kiri, right? Her Biomax handler. I never got the sense that Kiri was totally okay with all that corporate manipulation.
Kiri's interesting. She gets Leah, you know. And there are these moments where she helps Leah out, even pushes back against Biomax a little. It's like she's stuck in the system, too, trying to do the right thing.
And what about the Wilding? That's where Leah finds some escape, right?
The Wilding. It's this zone outside the control of both the org world and the mech world. Total chaos. Unpredictable. People go there to get away from the rules.
It's like an outlaw zone.
Pretty much. It's where Leah can really push her synthetic body, see what it can do, experiment. And it's where she runs into a Jude double.
Wait, what? Another Jude?
Yep. Makes things even more confusing for Leah. Like, who can she trust?
Exactly.
It just shows how much is going on behind the scenes that Leah doesn't know about. Even in this supposed haven, there's still manipulation, control.
And the real Jude.
Their relationship falls apart. Leah sees him for what he is, a manipulator hiding behind charisma and ideology.
It all comes to a head at the temple, right?
Yeah, the final showdown, Leah, Riley, and Jude, they go to rescue Ani and expose the Brotherhood.
Did it work?
Kind of. They get Ani out, but Jude gets captured by Biomax. And Auden, well, he stays with the Brotherhood.
So there's no real winner, is there?
No, it's messy. Everyone loses something. Everyone makes compromises.
What about Leah? How does it all end for her?
She accepts her life as a mech, but it's not a happy ending. She's still stuck in the system, playing the part Biomax created for her. The last thing we see is her creating a fake memory for Riley, a lie about what happened to Jude, to protect him.
Kind of a bittersweet ending.
Right. She's trying to be kind, but it just shows how much she's become a part of this web of lies.
Shatter doesn't give you easy answers.
It's good science fiction. It makes you confront these uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about technology, the choices we make when there are no good options.
It really sticks with you. Makes you think about what happens when we can't tell the difference between life and death, human and machine anymore.
That's the question, isn't it? And it's one we all need to be thinking about as technology keeps advancing.
Well, that's been our deep dive into Shattered. Thanks for joining us.